Hi there, it's Martin.
Hi.
It's Nick. And it's 51 Lowton Street. So let's get into this. The issue with this property is a lack of we will well, let's just have a look. We'll work our way through, see what's going on, and so on. Now, what happened was that the viewer guy wasn't allowed to take any footage or pictures of the interior. And is this because it's tenanted? Is that right? Do we know?
I'm not sure. No.
And
Maybe.
No, it's
No.
not. It's just occupied by people who don't want to sell their house. So
and they don't want to show personal items from the on video.
Okay, well, fine. And all right, so with this house, we've kind of got to put together a lot of clues and see how we get on. And
I think in my personal view, and property doesn't have viewing. I mean, where EPC is E, then is we cannot know how much it will be the real renovation.
Yes.
Based on the photos, I think it will. I think the walls need to strip out and make a new walls. So basically, second fix.
Well, let's work our way through this, because the thing is, if we do it methodically, then we'll kind of get somewhere with it. So the first thing is, this looks like 1920s to me.
Yeah.
So what period is the house?
Yeah, it should be that. I'm not 100. Yeah, it's between 30 and 50s, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Maybe,
okay. So 1930s, fine. Yeah.
I
so
guess
these kind of properties, yeah, the later the property, the better. Now, these, I checked the viewer video. We'll have a look at this in a minute, but it has been damp proofed, which is good. So I'll explain a little bit about that. The other point of interest is that the doors
you don't share your screen.
Sorry, that would help, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
There you go. This red has been applied recently. So if you look at the Google Maps, you can see from 2015 it was brown. So that I think that rust color may have been redone. But anyway, it's interesting when people do these things, because it tells me that they kind of care. Now, let's just make sure it's them that care. Let's just see when it was last sold. Okay, so these are people, these are older people.
It never was sold. Yeah, never was sold. The person lived 30 years there. Like maybe, and because he's sentimental with the property, he didn't allow filming inside.
Yeah, that would kind of work. So older people are often a bit weird about video and so on, and that's what we've got here. Now, the first thing I would say is that this property looks like it's had a big renovation in its time.
Yeah, and so, can I said that the place has been looked after, but it's very outdated.
Yeah, so, well, there's kind of two levels to this, really. One is that you've got a relatively economy property, and if it's all plaster and lath, and if the wiring is knackered, then you've got a real problem. It's an avoid. But so far, this property tells me that it's okay. Now, the reason Thomas, I say this,
and also the Thomas, the viewer guy, we communicate with him a lot, so he explained that it's a good one, and I will copy paste you the conversation, so maybe this will help you.
Yeah, and we can have a look at his conversation in a second. So I'm just going to go through the estate agency stuff, then we'll go through his stuff, and then we can kind of draw some conclusions. So yes, it's a house that hasn't been renovated in a long time, but it looks like it has had a major renovation in its life. The general cycle seems to be that with houses of this age, they have to be thoroughly renovated. Let's say this would have had a renovation maybe 40 years into its life. So let's say it's 1930s. It was probably renovated 1970s. or maybe 80s. So when these people moved in, they probably did a big renovation on the property. And so what we're seeing now is the benefit of that. The other thing to say is the brick quality is reasonable. You've got stone lintels. It's late 20s, early 30s. So a lot of the essentials are quite good on this property, which is a good thing. We've got a gas fire, I think it is here.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about this is ties in with the story here.
It's only one photo. Yeah, the living room.
Yes, that's what we're looking at. So with this fireplace, you've got a gas fire. This is expensive to install. So these people spent some fairly chunky money. And so what I'm seeing here is that they care about the property. When they had some money, they spent quite a lot on it. And therefore, this is all looking encouraging so far. The carpets are a bit threadbare. They're pretty old, I would imagine, probably original to the property. And you can also see, you can see here that on the ground, you can see kind of shadowing. And this is where the underlay, the original underlay, would have just got compressed. And that's why you see the shadowing. So it needs new carpets. But the walls look okay. They could probably be repainted, and you might do something with this fireplace because that's a risk. This is a very late 1970s, early 80s kitchen. So where we're at so far is that the essentials for the property are good. And that's good. So at this price point, you don't need to really spend a massive amount of money on it to get it into decent condition. It's going to need a modern kitchen. And I fear because the kitchen is that old, you probably won't get away with just replacing the kitchen doors. You'd probably have to replace the whole kitchen. So already we're kind of up to the, let's say, painting and decorating throughout, removing wallpaper, etc., replacing doors. We're probably in the kind of £6,000 mark. This is carpets, painting, decorating, but we're nowhere near what it would cost to rip this place out and redo it. The thing I'm not clear about is the wiring, but I suspect all the wiring was done in the day. You've got another gas fire here, not good. So you'd remove that and just remove the whole thing. Sorry, Martin?
Yeah, I want to see the wire, but I cannot. It doesn't have enough photos. And I try to find.
Well, we'll keep looking. We might see some sort of clue or another. I suspect it's going to be 80s wiring, which is fine, and we're good with that. What you're watching out for is when wiring is pre-1970s, so 1960s wiring, basically, then it's an issue. But so far, so good. Now, arguably, you might put a new bathroom suite in here. And where this is all drifting towards, by the way, is that if a property is in a good enough area that promises enough capital growth and would appeal to moneyed people if renovated thoroughly, then it's worth renovating. But if the kind of people that live around here would just not be prepared to pay the money it takes, so in other words, do you get your money back out if you put your money in? That's really the question. And I don't know the answer to that because we haven't looked at the demographics. Those are original doors.
And I will change the carpet in the bathroom.
Well, you'd go for a vinyl in the bathroom just because that's a more useful thing to have. Because, you know, bathrooms get wet, don't they? So you can't have wet carpet.
Yeah, and I think the Uber guy told us that it smells. I need to change.
Yes, and also just to say this shower is a lovely enclosure. You would keep that, but you would replace the lavatory and this thing, which isn't a great deal of money, and it's just literally a swap out. So more modern fixtures, economy would do you £500-600 for the bathroom suite, excluding the bath, but you don't need a bath because you got this lovely shower. So, and in respect to the tiling, I'd probably leave the tiling alone and just paint the rest of the walls with moisture-resistant vinyl matte emulsion paint. Backyard looks tidy. Again, it's this idea, if it was a second-hand car, what you would look for is the car tidy? Is the owner tidy? You know, are these people who care? And overall, yes is the answer. But there's a lot more to come because we've got to look through the WhatsApp, and we've also got to look through the EPC in some detail because there's a lot in the EPC that we can see.
Can I,
if there is
because there is author view there from Thomas, so maybe I can share.
So,
I prepare.
Yeah, we'll share with you. So let's just quickly do this. So we can see that they've had the damp proofing. You can always tell because of the little holes in the walls. That's the damp proofing treatment. I wonder if that has been repainted recently. It looks like it has. And that looks fine. So let's just have a look at the pictures. I think we have a few of them.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, not a problem. Just needs to be sorted out.
And they said
Hmm?
he said carpets in the lunch and master bedrooms are 3 years old. Windows looks okay, full double glazed, PVC double glazed.
Okay, this needs thorough painting and decorating, obviously.
Yeah, and carpet.
So yeah, that's kind of that. Okay, so we're now into the EPC stuff.
Can I share?
Can we go to you? Yes, please, because I think just EPC from a condition point of view rather than just all the other stuff.
Yeah, so basically it's 52, not bad, and because it's really close to D, and it can be B, which is really, really positive, and it's fresh made. So what they said that the walls are bad because it's all house, that's normal, it cannot be.
But at least it's a cavity wall, so that's fine.
Yeah, assumed. No insulation. They mean that. So maybe if it's have insulation, then it will be average. Or so yeah, the roof is really good, which is nice. I mean, it have loft insulation. It said that partial double glazing, but I think it was full double glazing, as Thomas said. So even if you need to change like two, it will not. I think the windows will not cost you more than 1,000 if we assume that part of the windows need to be changed. Boiler is good. Main heating, no room thermostat. So basically, we'll check how much it costs. Hot water, poor. Lighting is okay. So let's check what it needs to be done. So basically, cavity wall insulation, you don't need to touch that. Floor insulation, suspended floor. Maybe you can. It's around 1,000.
Yeah, I don't think that's worth checking.
Yeah.
It's this hot water. Yeah, all of this is the issue.
This is that's at 1530. Maybe it will cost 100 with all costs. So also the lighting, it's just around 40-50 pounds just to change them. Also heating thermostat, I will change this around 500. The boiler is around 2,000. So I think the EPC, what you need to do, and you will make it almost C. It will cost you around 3,000 maximum. The EPC.
Yeah. So, all right. So if you start adding up the total renovation cost for this, it's going to be.
Maximum
I would say. How's that roof looking, by the way?
The roof here, you can see that it's not perfect.
It looks okay, doesn't it? It doesn't have any tingling on it, which is good.
Yeah, just here it's like, but it's okay because it has 300 millimeters insulation, so everything should be fine.
Also, that distortion isn't the house, just the picture, the Google thing.
Yeah, and let's talk about the location. The location is like really central.
So just on renovation, it's going to cost about, because we need to know the renovation number really before we can give everything else context. So it's going to be 3 for the boiler, painting and decorating, heavy painting and decorating throughout, plus carpets, and risk. So it's painting, decorating, £4,000. Carpets, let's call it £1,500. So we're up to 4.5, and then the boiler.
I think maximum will be 10.
I think it's £10,000 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and also the garden little bit need to cleaning. So there is a lot of small touches, like some double glazing need to be changed, as the EPC said. So yeah, I think.
So the real question with this henceforth will be, is it worth what is it worth? Is it worth renovating it?
Yeah, there is no risk of flooding. The year of build I don't have for 51, I have for 53, but that's next door, and 53 as you can see this year. So I assume that it's the same. And the floor area should be 75, which is nice. It's always nice. And yeah, the location is like really near schools, but it's not an issue, because if the property was here, some of these terrace houses who are opposite of the school, it will be issue because of the noise, but this one is here, so you have parking on the street, you don't have private parking.
It's the right side of the road, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, and it's also very close to you have a lot of shops on this street. You have here a supermarket, which so is nice. You have a lot of green space. You have schools. So location is really nice. It's also really central, Radcliffe, very close to the center. And if we check like how much it will take you to go to Manchester, I think it's 35 minutes, 45 now. I think it was 35. So let's change tomorrow. And I think it was faster. Why is it 35? Maybe I'm something wrong. Maybe with the car was 35. So you can see.
Yeah.
With the car was 35. With the transport is 50, 40, 45. Sorry, but 45 is still acceptable. But anyway, this property, the asking price, it was 125. So for 125, you cannot be so much central, and it should be leasehold, as I know. So yep, so there is no historical fail. So let's check the similar property for selling in this area. Just a second. And this is 2 bedrooms. Sorry for this. It should be terrace. So you can see the similar, this newer, not the same. 145, maybe even, similar, 145. For this they ask me, but it's better condition, little bit, but not the best. It looked like good, but it's not the best. You can see the walls here, for example. It have paper. And this 145 was asking. So I'm trying to see similar properties. This one is 135. Really similar. I think they're asking 125 just to attract more people. But that's my opinion. The same type of property. 5.
Very good. All right. So
let's do the rent.
Yeah.
The rent, here it is. I think 700 will be the rent, maybe 695.
Okay, very good. Well, let's then get into the demographics and all of that. And I'm going to share my screen.
Maybe we swap that.
Yeah. So here we go, and let's have a look at this little patch, see what's going on around here. Not that much crime, pretty quiet. Average crime, average is 1 crime a month on average. So this is average, and it's a pretty quiet little patch. Less quiet down here, but then that's because it's some sort of a car park and there's some issue down there. But it's overall very quiet. So this is a good thing. Demographics are decent. It's a very kind of young-ish I say youngish, middle kind of family, youngish family, not young family, but youngish family area. Quite a lot of private rented actually, which is an interesting, and very little social rented, fine, and very, very kind of middle class. So very little AB here, which is interesting. So it's definitely on the lower end of the spectrum socially. Yeah. But, you know, it's just your kind of regular English area, not that mixed really, but perfectly pleasant.
I want to say it's really central and it's cheap here. So, I mean, the price is not high, so you cannot expect a really high demographic. But for this price range, I think the demographics are really nice and the crime
that's true.
Low.
So in respect, and in respect to the capital growth, stalled a little bit recently in M26 as a whole, but the rental turnover is huge. So what this means is that each month properties will rent out in like literally 2 weeks or less. So it's very quick, quite a brisk sales market as well. And in respect to the sales turnover, it's quite a lot of turnover as well, 14 properties per 1,000 population, which is reasonably high. And the growth reasonably good, not crazy, but actually very strong. Some of the strongest growth in the country, but relative to other parts of Manchester, not that ludicrously strong. Minimal. Very, very not overbought back then. Not really overbought now. And the reason I say that is because the prices it's 18% up from 2009. Where is it from 2007? 16% up. Yeah, it's all right. It's okay. It's not overcooked. And I would say, obviously, if you're looking in this area, not such a smart place to go. I would say it's all right. It's solid. And based on how the market goes and the correlation between the end of the cycle and people looking for value and all that, I would say this area is going to do all right. It's not as buoyant as some of these areas 20 minutes outside central, but overall it's pretty okay. Now, you may look at a lot of red colors here and you go, ooh, there must be lots of action there. Why can't I buy there? Well, help yourself, but the demographics don't work. And it's just generally quite problematic here. There's quite a lot of crime, a lot of poverty, and the prices are starting at a very low level and kind of creeping up, but it's high risk in all this area, and I just wouldn't. And that's why we don't recommend that area. But this is just good, solid demographics, people doing their thing. It's a little patchy, but I would say overall it's a reasonable bet for reasonable growth over the next number of years. Okay, so what's next?
The score, the calculation, because we check everything. Everything looks fine in this property. For this price range.
Let's do the, yeah. So let's say it's 125, let's say it's, call it 130 to buy and to renovate.
Yeah.
We said 10,000. The rent?
I think, I think what we need to do is, I think to purchase this property, you need to pay 135. I think.
No, for sure. And we never know until we actually get involved with the offer. So the way it plays out in the offer is that we get our ducks lined up, as it were. So we make sure we've got all the documentation. We've got the offer email ready to go. I then start talking to the agent, and the way it plays out is the later you do the offer, in a weird way, the better. It makes it a higher risk because you might be too late, but the idea is the later you are in the cycle, the more you can get your bearings on how much to offer. Because half the problem is not knowing whether you should offer enough. Because sometimes it's like, you know,
I want to add that this property, the closing is in Monday. So we need to decide.
So we have to really kind of work this out for ourselves. But what'll happen is if you want to offer, we'll, you know, call the agent on Monday morning, find out what's going on, and then there'll be some back and forth with you where I'll be reporting back. And that's where we need you on WhatsApp, just like being present with us so that we can do all this stuff. All right.
The rent should be around 750 maybe. Let's say 700. Maybe 750, but let's say it's 700.
5.7 is reasonable. I think
5.79, so 5.8. So, but I think if you take it for 131, let's just do that.
Yeah. I don't think it changes anything terribly.
It will be 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's all solid enough. My only reservation is that actually I don't really have any reservations for this price point. It's good, but there are other variables to think about. So if you're a foreign national limited company buyer, then you can't get a mortgage, or you can, but it's not very attractive. It's difficult to get mortgages under £100,000. So then you're into the whole thing about, well, is it? We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's score it, and then I'll just talk about these issues, because there are a couple of other issues we're going to talk about with this property. Anyway, right, condition, actually not bad. I'm going to give it a 3.7. Needs a bit of work, but the fundamentals are good. If the fundamentals weren't good, by the way, this would be a £25,000 renovation.
Yeah.
Just to give you context. Because ripping everything back to brick, rewiring, replumbing, all of that is just a lot of money.
And I wanted to share my screen before that. I find some more pictures. Can I?
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Here is the wiring, so should be.
Oh, that looks like it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And this is this looks like a new.
Yeah, that looks good. So this just correlates with the main point that it just
and the boiler needs new. It's new boiler. So we was right. Anyway,
yeah. So the fundamentals are good.
Yeah. Sorry, you can share the screen again. This all I wanted to point.
Yeah, and I think that makes this property viable. So okay, location, Martin.
It's good. It's 4. Not the best. It's okay.
Area.
Area area is good just because for this price range is really good. So yeah, 4.
I'm 4. It's very reasonable. Demographic, oddly quite good.
Yeah, for this price, it's really good. If you think about generally, demographics are not best, but for this price, maybe for 125 asking price, demographics are really nice. I can say.
Yeah, we don't know if 125 is the price, but
but
we'll find
anyway,
out.
I
think capital growth is adequate. I think it's there. It's certainly better than most places in the rest of the country. So, what's this postcode? It's M26. Let's just have a quick.
No, but M26 is really good. I think.
Overall, it's good. So let's just see. So we have this, which is a tool I built, and we can compare. And the answer is
it's really good.
That it's one of the best in the country. So there's only 2% of postcode districts that are doing better than this in the UK.
Yeah, maybe this house, but it will have, I think, at least this property in next 3 years, it will be at least 160, 170, at least.
Yeah, I think that is a good prediction. So, okay, let's raise this up because I think you're right. And a lot of 4s. It's not because we're being lazy. It's just because these are the scores. And yield?
The yield depends how much you purchase. If you purchase for 135, let's say 10K
let's
more
assume
than that.
Fairly worst case scenario here.
Yeah, so it's 4. It's good.
There you go. It's nearly bang on average.
Yeah, everything more than 5.6, 5.7 in Manchester is good yield.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a good property.
So, all right. So we have a couple of issues with the property. One is we've got people who will probably not want to sell to you. You being investor, and then just think that these are the kind of people that probably voted for Brexit. So if you add up you being investor and you being foreigner, so you got that stacked against you. And the other issue is, what was the other? That was the price. So the problem is that at £125,000 or whatever, if assuming you go for Gatehouse, which is fine, you can get an 80% loan to value mortgage on this, your investment will just break even in terms of net cash return. And therefore, the whole thing is about the capital gain. And for capital gain, I think it's okay. There are other patches in Manchester which are stronger for gain. But essentially, because of all the interest costs you're going to pay, it's going to be just a break-even scenario. If you get a 75% loan to value mortgage, then you have the problem of getting very close to the wire with valuations. So 75% LTV means that the property price has to be what, I think 133 or something. So I can tell you now, it's an easy calc to do. And it is 133 multiplied by 0.75 equals, so it's £134,000 or thereabouts. So the price of the property would have to be the valuation on the property and the price would have to be 134,000 or above. And what we've found in the past is it's just very messy dealing with these kind of situations because it's so close to the wire. But if you're buying for cash and you're refinancing, that works. So in other words, you buy this, you buy another one, then you're in a strong position. If you pay a bit more, then these lovely owners might overcome issues and they might just like offer you the property. But overall, I would say nice property, but I think the odds are stacked against you.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So there you go.
But if you buy cash, and I want to say that
they might just overcome they might just overcome their preconceptions of all investors being evil monsters who do nothing but suck the life out of everyone. What they forget is that you're offering a nice house to somebody to live in, to make their home for a sensible price. But anyway, sorry, do I sound jaded on this? Just a little bit. But the thing is, there are lots of houses out there. It's just a numbers game. And if we make offers on this, it doesn't come to anything, fine, find another house, make another offer.
Yeah. We need to send offer by Monday, so
so we got to there's going to be lots of questions, lots of documents, lots of like, what do you want to do, etc. It's a very good exercise to really crystallize your thinking about how organized you are and so on. All right then.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.